everybody, it's Jay here. I'm finally getting around to doing some small modifications to my Classic 30. Couple things I've done so far, obviously just tube swap, and I've done a speaker swap, which I really like. And I'm starting to like the amp more and more, and one of the things that I don't have the functionality for is to include my Talkbox in that rig. And the reason being, normally I'd be able to wire my Talkbox in between a head and a cabinet. That way when you activate the Talkbox, it disconnects the cabinet and all your sound's coming through the Talkbox. Well, with the internal, 112, like in the Classic 30, I don't have the ability to do that. The other thing, there is an external speaker jack on the Classic 30, but it keeps the internal speaker active, and it's actually a parallel jack with that speaker. And I've already ran that speaker down to an 8 ohm with that speaker swap, so that external jack is kind of irrelevant for me at this point. And also, since it keeps the internal speaker active, and I don't have a way to route any sound back to the internal speaker by using that, if I wanted to, that's kind of out of the realm for me as well. So what I'm going to do is I picked up two mono switched 1/4 inch jacks. These are, I believe, Nutric from Parts Express, local here in Springboro, Ohio. And I also have this random metal bracket that I'm going to use to mount these jacks off the side of the amp from the back. I'll just screw this side to the cabinet, and I'll have to drill some holes for these jacks to have a nice sturdy place to mount those. And I'm going to wire these up to allow me functionality for my Talkbox. Now the way these work, I'm doing this one-handed, sorry. The way these work, if you're not familiar, is they have a switched contact in here. One side, they have two negatives and two positives. This side is a switched contact. So when I insert a 1/4 inch jack or plug, into here, I'm trying to see if I can get this to where you can see it. It actually lifts those contacts off of the other side, disconnecting whatever this would be connected to. So the way this will work, if I can this is poorly drawn, but you'll get the idea. So I'm going to have two jacks. I'm going to have basically a send and a return for my speaker signal. So I'll have my amp, I'll have the positive come out, and this is going to be to that side that will lift off when a jack or a plug is inserted. Same here, negative. And when these are both closed, when nothing's connected, this signal is going to go straight through each jack to the speaker, just like it would normally. And this will function two different ways for me. Let's say I want to pull out my 212 and use my Classic 30 as a head. Well, then I can just use this jack, plug this into my 212, which is imaginarily over here, and it will disconnect the internal speaker, and I'll just be using my amp like an amp head. Or let's say I want to use my Talkbox, I will plug this into the amp side of my Talkbox, which is also imaginarily here. And since that's disconnected the speaker, I can actually run it back from my Talkbox into this jack, which will connect it back to my speaker, completing the circuit when the Talkbox is off, and then breaking the circuit when the Talkbox is on and sending all of the amp signal through the Talkbox. So that's kind of how it's going to work. Thanks for dealing with my horrible drawing here. I will get all of this installed hopefully tonight or tomorrow, and I will complete this video then and kind of show you how it works installed and do a quick demo of it, and we'll go from there. Alright, well, I have the wiring completed. I don't have my jacks mounted yet. That's the last step I have to do here, but just to show you what I have here, so we can get a light down in here. I have the original, see this yellow and green wire, the original wire coming from factory amplifier, and I have extended that, and I know this isn't the prettiest, but I actually wanted to kind of maintain some reversibility here, so I actually just use spade connectors to extend that wire, and then threw some heat shrink and a little bit of tape over them for some stability there. Purple is my hot side, my silver is my ground, and I have that going to my one jack here, and again, that's on the switched side of this jack. That way when I insert a plug into this jack, it will be connected directly to the head and will disconnect the rest of this circuit. Otherwise, this follows through to the other jack and will carry back to the speaker. Now this is also on the switch side of this jack, so if I plug something into this jack, it's going to feed my speaker directly and will be disconnected from the amp unless I have something connecting the two. One thing I didn't mention previously is one thing that'll also allow me to do is if I just want to use this as a speaker cabinet for other amps that I have laying around the house to record or whatever, then I have that ability too, without having to get, you know, the whole arsenal out of the closet or as it is right now in storage. Also, you'll notice I've had this creature here that's been helping me out, and if you do not have a helper cat, you're probably getting things done a lot quicker than I am actually. So I'm going to get this buttoned up and see you in a minute. Okay, and here we are all buttoned up. Just added some zip ties just to kind of keep everything a little tidy. I may put some actual cable keeps like we have for the power cord here eventually. We'll have to see how we do, make sure there's no rattles or anything. So there's my little jack plate. And I just have my jacks here. So let's haul this into the other room and I'll dig out my Talkbox and make sure this all functions without catching on fire, hopefully. Alright, and here we are. Got everything hooked up here. Trusty handy dandy Talkbox. I've already confirmed that everything works the way it should with nothing plugged in. I now have my Talkbox plugged in, red to the head. That's how I remember what cable's what. Ridiculous. And we've got that all looped in here, so let's go ahead and just... I know that's super musical, but there's my amp, and then it's down super low, but here's my Talkbox. Here's my Kimberly. Ooh. So let's go ahead and fire this up at a little more volume and give you a proper demo of this. So there you go. I always forget to breathe. Ridiculous. But that's what you get. And so now I just need to get this into a room that'll allow some volume and try it out back and forth, because the volume that it's at for the Talkbox is a little too loud for the neighbors where I am now. So hope that's helped, and if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them on. Thanks.